Hello and welcome to lecture 15. Before going into the discussion of today's lecture, let us briefly recapitulate of what we have done so far in the context of helium atom ground state using variational method. So remember, the helium atom has two electrons and two protons and two neutrons, and these two protons and two neutrons are there in the nucleus. And we start with this classical picture and saying that this whole nucleus is having a charge of Z times E, where the Z is the atomic number, that means the number of protons present in the nucleus. And we wrote down the Hamiltonian in this following way, that we have divided the Hamiltonian into two hydrogenic Hamiltonians, and then we had the interaction between the two electrons that are there in the orbit. So for helium, we although know that Z is equal to 2 because there are two protons in the nucleus, we still wanted to keep the generic notation for atomic number Z in the Hamiltonian. So we actually applied two different approximations in finding out what should be the ground state energy for this Hamiltonian. First, what we did is that we said that suppose we do not have the interaction between the two electrons terms to start with. Suppose we do not have the interaction between the electrons, then what should be the ground state energy estimation from just looking at these two terms in the Hamiltonian. So there we actually wrote down the trial wave function, and since there is no interaction between the two electrons, these two terms are basically the Hamiltonians for individual hydrogen atoms or hydrogenic atoms, because there is this Z. So we can write them as a product form for these two different parts in the Hamiltonian, and each part has the wave function. Each part has the wave function which looks like this. Then we evaluated the expectation value of the kinetic energy as well as the potential energy, and from these two expressions we have evaluated the ground state energy, estimated the ground state energy by neglecting the electron-electron repulsion to be 2Z square times E1, where this E1 was the ground state energy of the hydrogen atom, which is minus 13.6 electron volt. So this is just if we simply calculate for the helium atom, that means Z is equal to 2, this will come out to be minus 108.8 electron volt. However, the measured value of the helium ground state from experiments is minus 78.6 electron volt. Therefore, we can safely claim that this disparity of results has a disparity. You can see this is the calculated result by neglecting the electron-electron repulsion term, and this is the result that one gets when someone performs the experiment, actual experiment. So therefore there is a strong disparity of results, and it shows that we cannot neglect the mutual repulsion between the electrons. Therefore I write down this Schrodinger equation as H times psi 0 R1 R2. This psi 0 R1 R2 is the trial wave function with which we started, is equal to 8 times E1. What is this 8 times E1? This is because this comes from the fact that when we neglected the electron-electron repulsion, this is the result that we had obtained. This was obtained, we just obtained here, that this is 2Z square times E1, and if Z is equal to 2, this gives us 8 times E1. So this is the term when we which we get when we neglect the electron repulsion, and this is the electron repulsion term. That means E square by 4 pi epsilon naught 1 by R or R12, and this is the trial wave function. So what we did in this particular case is that we wanted to calculate the expectation value of the Hamiltonian, and we know if we calculate the expectation value of this Hamiltonian in this state, what we will obtain is 8 times U1 already, which is there, is just a constant, times the expectation value of this VEE, which is nothing but has to be calculated in the state psi 0 R1 R2. So we have to calculate this expectation value of VEE, and this we have calculated in the previous class. And the result that we had obtained after several integrations was this. The expectation value of the VEE came out to be minus 5z by 4 times U1, where again this U1 was the ground state energy of the hydrogen atom. So we know everything here. For helium, we know Z is equal to 2, U1 is minus 13.6 because this is the hydrogen atom ground state. So everything if we put, we will get the number 34 electron volts. So therefore, using the fact that expectation value of H is now 8 times U1 plus expectation value of VEE, we should get nothing but minus 108.8 plus 34 electron volts, which will give us minus 74.8 electron volt. Close, but as I said in the last class, that there is still some scope for improvement. Now, before going into the improvement part, let me comment something about application of perturbation theory in this particular problem. See, you actually have written down the Hamiltonian, where we have this as the hydrogenic Hamiltonian, this as the hydrogenic Hamiltonian, and this as the repulsion term between the two electrons. Now suppose we want to treat the Coulomb energy between the two electrons as perturbation on the original problem. Now, before proceeding, we need to ask this question. Always, everywhere when you want to apply perturbation theory, you need to ask this question religiously, that what is the small dimensionless parameter that ensures that this additional term is smaller than the original terms? What guarantees that this will be smaller compared to these combined terms? Because if it is not smaller than our H0, so this is our H0 and this is our H1, that is the proposal. If this term is not smaller than these whole 4 terms, then our perturbation theory we cannot apply. So we need to justify why this term, why this last term in the Hamiltonian is smaller than the other 2 terms, other 2 potential terms, I would say. So these are the potential terms, this term and this term. So why this is smaller than these 2 terms? Now, in order to understand this, we have to note here that all these potential terms which are written in this Hamiltonian, they come due to the Coulomb force. So we see that each of these terms comes with a factor of E square by 4 pi epsilon naught. But the interaction with the nucleus comes with a factor of Z. So here we have the interaction term of electron with the nucleus, and these 2 terms are different from this in the sense that these 2 terms has this extra factor of multiplicative factor of Z. This Z multiplicative factor is absent in the electron repulsion term. So this is therefore the what we actually should hang our all our hope upon. The perturbation expansion should be an expansion in 1 by z, because that is what is actually differentiating between these terms with these terms. So of course ultimately we have to set z equal to 2 for helium atom. So 1 by z would be just 1 by 2 or half, which you would simply say that it is not a very small number after all. Thus it can create a concern in your mind that perturbation theory may not give us any very accurate results. So let us actually proceed to calculate, and now we place each electron in the usual hydrogenic ground state. That means this psi 100, I know that what is the expression of psi 100 in the hydrogen ground state or hydrogenic ground state is just square root z cube by pi a0 cube e to the minus zr by a naught, where a naught of course is the Bohr radius, which is given by this, and therefore to leading order the shift in the ground state energy that we have to calculate using this state. So the first order correction we know from perturbation theory should be given by E square by 4 pi epsilon naught into d3r1 d3r2 psi 100 r1 square psi 100 r2 square by mod r1 minus r2, because this is my VE expectation value. This is what my expectation value of VE is. So if you calculate this, we have already calculated this. We have already calculated this using variational technique, this integration at least we have calculated this. And we know that this is nothing but our expectation value of the perturbation Hamiltonian H1. So now we know, therefore the ground state energy estimate for the helium atom should be E plus delta E, and E is also known, we have calculated. E is basically the part which you have calculated without the electron-electron interaction term, and that gave us 8 times E1, which is this 2z squared times E1. And this also was known, the last calculation that we had done in the previous class is this expectation value of VE. So this together gives us the same number, minus 74.8 electron volt. It does not say anything else, anything more. So variational method using the trial wave function that we had chosen gives us the same result using perturbation theory. Now let us come to the variational method again, and let us see if we can do better than basically choosing than what we have obtained so far, basically by choosing a different trial wave function. So remember, this was the original wave function. So this is psi 0 r1 r2, which we had written as a product of two hydrogenic wave functions, psi n1 l1 m1 r1, psi n2 l2 m2, function of r2. But then what we say here is that we should generically choose the trial wave function as psi n lm r, but now we introduce a parameter alpha. What is that parameter alpha? We write down everything as square root alpha cube by pi a0 cube e to the minus alpha r by a naught. Now recall that we had chosen earlier the trial wave function which has this following form. So what are the difference between these two? The only difference is that now here we have replaced this z by alpha, where alpha is now a parameter of the theory, and by varying alpha we are expecting that we can estimate the ground state energy better. We can tell immediately that this approach, so what we have done is nothing very complicated. Please try to understand that we had initially z cube by pi a0 cube to the power half e to the minus zr by a naught as our trial wave function. Now what we are doing is that we are taking these z's and we are replacing them by the parameter alpha in this expression. So we can tell immediately that this approach at least should do as well at estimating the ground state energy, because setting alpha equal to z reproduces the result of first order perturbation theory which we just had seen. or the result that we had obtained using variational method using this wave function as the trial wave function. So now the expectation value of energy we have to calculate using this trial wave function. That means we have to calculate this object. What is this object? Let us have a closer look. We have to calculate the expectation value of H. H is the total Hamiltonian. It has to be calculated in this state, where each state should actually be the product of these two wave functions, hydrogenic wave functions. So I wrote down as D3R1, D3R2. This is psi star N1, L1, M1, R1 times psi star N2, L2, M2, R2. And then we have the total Hamiltonian sitting here, then psi N1, L1, M1, R1 and psi N2, L2, M2, R2. So that is the total expression for the expectation value. So this is nothing but your psi 0, R1, R2, H, psi 0, 0, R1, R2. That's what it is. Now, this immediately means that now, because these wave functions has changed from our previous wave function, we need to calculate each and every term in the Hamiltonian once again. But here is the trick. There is a trick that we can actually apply to figure out what will be this E alpha without actually solving those complicated integrals once again. We know that this is the ground state wave function of the Hamiltonian, and we also know that we can write down this H alpha. So I write down this H using this subscript alpha in this manner, that this is p square by 2me. Instead of z, let us write this as alpha e square by 4 pi epsilon naught 1 by r. That means we have actually replaced z by alpha in the hydrogenic wave function, in the hydrogenic part of the Hamiltonian. But if I write down this as alpha e square by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 by r, this is not my Hamiltonian for the helium atom. This is not my Hamiltonian for the helium atom. Therefore, if I add such term, at some point I also need to subtract this term from the Hamiltonian. Otherwise, I will not get back my original Hamiltonian. So what we can do is that we can write down the helium Hamiltonian in the following way. So I have H alpha P1 R1. That means H alpha P1 R1 means I have this one-to-one correspondence. That means first term will be P1 square by 2me minus alpha e square by 4 pi epsilon naught 1 by R1. Similarly, H alpha P2 R2 will give me P2 square by 2me minus alpha e square by 4 pi epsilon naught 1 by R2. But these two terms were not there in the original Hamiltonian. What we had, the terms like z e square by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 by R1 and 1 by R2. So here I do the trick. I actually write down this term e square by 4 pi epsilon naught into alpha minus z into 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. This therefore cancels this term and keeps this z into 1 by R1 into e square by 4 pi epsilon 0 type of terms. And then of course there remains this 1 by mod R1 R2 times e square by 4 pi epsilon naught term. So we know what the results of these integrations are. Expectation value of energy therefore should give me 2 alpha square E1. It will come from these two terms. Why? Because we calculated this using alpha equal to z, which gave us 2z square U1. So now also it will give us the same result, only z will be replaced by alpha. If we calculate the expectation value for this term, we will have generically terms like alpha minus z, and then we will have mod psi NLM r square by r, because this r is here. 1 by R1 and 1 by R2 are here. But I know whatever we do the integrations, if I do one integral with 1 by r1, I will get the same result for 1 by r2 also. So I am multiplying here by 2 to get the total result from these two terms. And finally, we have the term like e square by 4 pi epsilon naught, then d3r1, d3r2. I have to calculate this expectation value. So psi n1, L1, M1, R1 square mod psi n2, L2, M2, R2 squared divided by R1 minus R2 mod. But this result is already known. This we have calculated, and the result is minus 5 alpha by 4 E1. Remember, we calculated this using z in the trial wave function. If you calculate this with alpha, the result will only be the z will be replaced by alpha. Nothing else will change. So the remaining term, which is this one, can be easily calculated. If we look at this integral, we know what this psi NLM R are. So this is basically e to the power minus alpha r by a0 into square root alpha cube by pi a0 cube. And this d3r, there is no angular dependence in psi NLM, therefore it will be just 4 pi r squared dr. So 4 pi r squared dr divided by r times e to the minus 2 alpha r by a0, and this is the normalization part. So we know we have to use this standard integral because the integration is from 0 to infinity. So using this, we will get the contribution of alpha by a0. Therefore all the terms are evaluated. So we have from this expression E alpha as first term gave us 2 alpha square E1. Second term will give us this, these factors were already there, E square by 4 pi epsilon naught into 2 alpha minus z, which are sitting here, and integration gives us alpha by a0, and rest is 5 alpha by 4 E1, that is already coming from the last term. So now you simplify this. Simplify this by replacing a0. A0, remember, was 4 pi epsilon naught h slash square by m e square. Again, if we actually note very carefully, we will see that this term within this thing is basically the ground state energy of the E1 of the hydrogen atom with a minus sign. So this will therefore give us this 2 into 2 is 4 alpha into alpha minus z into minus E1. So overall, I will have this expression for E alpha, or the expectation value of the energy. But remember, this alpha was the variational parameter. So now we have to calculate dE by d alpha is equal to 0 to figure out what is the value of alpha which will minimize this E. So we take the derivative with respect to alpha, and we see that the minimum value of or optimum value of alpha is z minus 5 by 16. So we put this back to this expression for E alpha, and what we obtain finally is this. It's a beautiful result, 2z minus 5 by 16 whole square into E1. E1 is known, which is minus 13.6 electron volt. Z is known, which is 2. If we substitute these things here, we will get minus 77.5 electron volt. Remember, the experimental result was minus 78.6 electron volt. Therefore, we can easily say that we are close enough. By applying the variational technique using a different trial wave function, we are very close to the ground state energy. So this therefore means physically it has a very important meaning, that the optimal trial wave function means that if I figure out what will be the expression of my wave function, if you remember, we started with alpha by pi a0 cube alpha cube e to the minus alpha r by a0. This was my wave function. Now I can put the value of alpha to be z minus 5 by 16. That will give me the optimal trial wave function. Now with this value or with this expression of optimal trial wave function, I can clearly see that here it will be z minus 5 by 16. So that means this optimal trial wave function that we should get should be of a nucleus which has the charge z minus 5 by 16 times the electron charge. So that means the optimal trial wave function is basically telling you that the interaction between the nucleus and the electron is where the electron sees the charge of the nucleus not as z times e, rather z minus 5 by 16 times e. So that means immediately the charge of the nucleus is screened by the presence of the second electron. That is why the charge is reduced. It's not z times e, rather it is z minus 5 by 16 times e. Now let us very briefly tell you the three different steps that we have followed. The first, we calculated the ground state energy estimate for helium atom by neglecting the electron-electron repulsion term, and we obtained minus 108.8 electron volt. Now next, in the second step, we took the same trial wave function that we had obtained for or used for calculating this ground state, and we used the same trial wave function to evaluate the VEE expectation value, that means the electron-electron interaction expectation value, and we obtained the number minus 74.8 electron volt. But finally what we did is that we used a completely different trial wave function, completely different in the sense we did not do anything complicated. We just simply replaced the z in the trial wave function by alpha and said that now alpha is my parameter which we can vary in order to obtain the bound on the ground state. And by doing this we got an amazing result. We came very close to figure out what should be the ground state energy of the helium experimentally. The ground state energy of the helium experimentally was minus 78.6 electron volt, and we obtained minus 77.5 electron volt. The only thing is that using this trial wave function by replacing z to alpha with alpha, it means that essentially my nuclear charge is basically seen by the electron to be reduced or to be shielded because of the presence of the other electron in the orbit. So that's what gives you a concrete idea. I want to comment on another point is that here we also have said that you can look at the electron-electron interaction term, the Coulomb interaction term between the two electrons as the perturbative term. And I also discussed with you why it should be treated as a perturbation term over the other H naught terms. I said that this 1 by z basically acted as the expansion parameter, but that perturbation theory result was also the same as the variational approach gave us, including this VEE. That gave us the result of minus 74.8 electron volt. What does this tell us? This tells us that sometimes we can actually do even better than the first order perturbation theory also. Like first order perturbation theory gave us minus 74.8 electron volt. Variational method with a judicious choice of the trial wave function gave us a better result, a much better result than this one. So this example therefore is a very good example that we have discussed in variational method. I will not discuss any more example. We will discuss a few problems because now we have enough experience in variational techniques, and we will discuss some problems later on in the tutorial. But before I stop today's discussion, let me comment something about the existence of bound state. If you remember, on the very first day when I was trying to mathematically introduce the variational principle, I said that there is one kind of question where variational method can give a definitive answer. You know that variational method, many of you must be uncomfortable because it does not give you the exact result, exact ground state energy, rather it gives you some bound, upper bound on the ground state energy. So that must be kind of unnerving to some of you, saying that, oh, I mean, what is the utilization of this result or method which is not able to predict what is the exact value. So as I said that in many problems that existence of some upper bound on the ground state, or even to that extent, to that effect, some upper bound on higher excited states also are very useful in many problems. Apart from that, what variational method can give you is a definitive answer to questions like whether bound state exists in a quantum mechanical problem or not. So, for example, let us consider a particle which is moving in a potential denoted by Vx such that Vx goes to 0 as x goes to infinity. Now, we all know from our PH 204 course that a bound state is nothing but an energy eigenstate with E less than 0. Now, for some potential, there may exist an infinite number of bound states. One such example is just this example of Coulomb potential, which goes as 1 by r in 3 dimensions in a family, is of course a familiar example. For other potentials, there may be a finite number of bound states. Even for some other potentials, there may not be any bound state at all. The question is, how can we tell what properties does a potential has? Clearly, the variational method can be used to prove the existence of a bound state. What you need to do? All you need to do is to exhibit a trial wave function which has E less than 0. This automatically ensures that the true ground state has also E0 less than 0, because E0 cannot be going below the potential. So, if I give you one example, probably this will be much easier to visualize. For example, let us take this hydrogen anion, that means H minus. H minus means it has single proton and 2 electrons. But the question is, does a bound state of a single proton and 2 electrons really exist? That is the question. Now you can analyze the same way that we have done in case of helium atom. The Hamiltonian of hydrogen anion is same as helium, but with Z is equal to 1. This means whatever calculation we have done today, one can import those calculations for the helium atom and apply in case of hydrogen anion with Z is equal to 1. In particular, the variational method will give you a ground state energy which is going to be given by this, which we just have obtained here. This is the result we have obtained, but for not for Z is equal to 2, now we have to apply for Z is equal to 1. Now if you apply for Z is equal to 1, you can immediately see, because U1 is minus 13.6 electron volt, we definitely have a result which will give us some negative number. This will definitely tell you that bound state really exists in this problem. So of course there are many more examples. One very important example is that of a Yukawa potential. Yukawa potential we will discuss in detail, and we will see we will comment on the existence of bound state in Yukawa potential. That is very interesting, and that we will discuss when we discuss some tutorials.